a troublemaker in legislature sometimes, but you know what, you only live once, and you get a shot to, as an elected person, to actually sit in that impressive building, and it's daunting and it's intimidating, and you know what, the issues are all very seriously, but I don't think we should take ourselves so seriously. So that's sort of a rule I go by. I want to acknowledge the Songhees and the Esquimalt First Nations. That's Coast Salish territory we're sitting in today, and the wonderful welcoming we had today too. So thank you so much, and recognize elders, chiefs, and the women in the room, and the young people in the room, all ages. And it's good to be here. I'm honored to serve as the MLA for the riding is called Alberni Pacific Rim. It's Nuu-chah-nulth territory, as Paul mentioned. And there's a Nuu-chah-nulth term I learned, Hishukish Sawak. All things are one, everything is together. It's wisdom, and I try to use that wisdom when I recall it. And I've used the term many times in the legislature, actually, and the Hansard people that do the recording, they immediately send me an email going, what did you say? They don't anymore, they understand it. So it's having a ripple effect. But everything is one, we're all one here. The issues around violence against women, against Aboriginal women, the statistics are horrendous. And they are issues for all of us, and we all have a role to play. So I feel this room and this campaign, this Moosehide campaign, it's different than what we deal with as legislators. It's more powerful. It's from the people that matter. And I've met with many women's groups, Aboriginal women's groups around the issues, and they bring the issues forward in a very powerful way, in a tearful way that had an effect on me as a critic as I traveled the province. The Highway of Tears. I've met with families, and I don't know the answers, but having men come forward and recognize and shine a light on themselves, be willing to shine a light on themselves, on ourselves, as part of that solution. It has to be part of that solution. It was, I think, a missing piece, and it's one piece, and it's an important one, and it's powerful. So I thank you all for taking this on, and I'll continue to try to break the rules with the Moosehide, but I have a number, so they can keep taking them away. And I also want to recognize Raven and Kelly and the space that you do bring, and that makes a difference. You can feel it. You can feel that in the room. It makes it a better place here. Violence against Aboriginal women must stop. And there are so many pieces to that. It's a provincial problem, it's a national problem. There needs to be a national inquiry. That has been resisted by governments, I don't know why. And that's a part of it, that's a top-down part. But I know that it's easy, as men it's easy to look the other way. You know, if it's not directly affecting you, to go, oh, well, that's not my problem. Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, I know it is, but it's not my problem. But there's no greater injustice in this province, in this country, than the violence shown to Aboriginal women, the missing women, the murdered women, and it's a grave injustice. And you know what? Doing nothing or looking the other way in the face of injustice is injustice. So the fact that we're gathering here today, that we're going to march later today, and raise awareness and tell our friends and tell their friends, that will have an effect. And Paul, I think, used a good example earlier around the campaign to fight breast cancer. And these their grassroots campaign, it's shedding light on a problem, and the light can help solve that problem. So as a legislator, I'm here to learn, to listen, and the circle is so much better than the lines that we have in the legislature. It's sometimes very toxic in there, and I've been the Aboriginal Affairs critic and honored to be so for almost my full 8 years in the legislature. And it was 2005, I believe it was my first statement as a member. I stood up and I had just read the executive synopsis of the Missing Women's Report known as Stolen Sisters, Amnesty International. It had come out in 2004, and I didn't know much about this, and I was outraged. So I stood up in the legislature and I expressed my outrage and the lack of action from any level of government or any authority. And I'm still doing that. And we've had another report this week, Human Rights Watch, 89 pages, highlighting injustice, violence against Aboriginal women in the North specifically, but not exclusively, issues with policing, and it's like deja vu all over again. So the action isn't happening at the levels that it's supposed to. So it's groups like this one and the Moosehide campaign that need to kickstart governments to take action. And I want to acknowledge that there are members, there are representatives from the ministry here taking part today, and I think that's a good thing. I'm a critic, so I always seem to be adversarial, but this week in the legislature, the minister did a ministerial statement recognizing and congratulating this movement. And I was able to stand up, instead of criticizing the minister, which is my usual role, to take a position in support of what she said, and also recognizing the importance of what's happening today, and trying to highlight it. So let's keep that highlighting happening, and don't let any politician getting away with looking the other way, because it doesn't matter whether we think it affects us or not. To look the other way is a grave injustice too. So with that, Klecko.
Thank you so much, Scott. You know, regardless of the outcome of the upcoming election, provincial election in May, then we know that we can count on your continued deep commitment to working with us to affect systemic change and grassroots change, the kind of change that we need to see, that our women and children are safe in this province. It just really hit me for some reason when you're talking about the Highway of Tears, and I just wanted to acknowledge our bros here from the Carrier territory, and you know, it's easy to forget about the North in this province, and you know how harsh our women are treated in this report that Scott's referring to. The Human Rights Watch just came out yesterday and talked about the abuses that our women are suffering at the hands of the police forces there. You know, so many of us have women in our lives who have been beaten. So somebody said earlier, I think it was Evan said, these are not conditions that we've created ourselves. You know, we didn't wake up in our communities one day and decide that we wanted to have these circumstances that we live in. So much poverty in our communities, and oppressive conditions, and then they get punished. Somebody comes along and takes their kids away because they're in trauma, right? So it piles up on them. You know, the system is just piling up on them. So it's going to take all of our effort and all of the effort of all of the men that we can reach out to and connect with to light a fire and have a real revolution in this country, in our communities, to help to lift them up, to lift up that huge burden. And Chet talks about that, the huge burden that's on us, and it's going to take all of us to lift it up, you know, and make it so that they're safe, that our precious ones, you know, they're safe. People are not doing that to them, you know, people in our own homes or people in the system. So, I'm so grateful to the women that are here today that have been willing to sit on the sides here and witness and pray for us and hold the space. You know, there's so much healing that has to happen between us as men and women, right? No more violence is just one part of it. But there's so much control that happens in our relationships, you know. Control, we've been socialized to control as men, and to think that we have to control our women and children. That's 5 generations of our people being controlled in the residential schools, you know. 5 generations of our people being told that we're good for nothing. And so there's lots of unlearning that we have to do and relearning, and you know, the words that White Lady was sharing with us, it's the magic, it's the medicine, you know, that we need to help to relearn our traditional knowledge, to relearn a new way of thinking that can help to break these cycles. You know, a lot of us, people in our communities are reaching for medicine, but we're reaching for the wrong medicine, right? Reaching for drugs and alcohol and gambling and all of the addictions that we're reaching for medicine, you know, to help to heal that. So we've asked some of our cherished sisters here to come and share a few words of acknowledgement. And so if you've been invited, then I want to invite you to come to sit on these chairs here for our sisters who have been invited to come up. If you can come here now and come up and share a few words of acknowledgement. Maybe you can just sit in a row here and then we'll just get you to come up one at a time. Just in terms of our timing, wanted to let you know that we have some food after our sisters share. We have some food here, and then we're going to leave here at 12:40, and we're going to go march over to the legislature and have some statements that we'll make to the press there about what we're doing here. And we have a hut with here, Cliff Atleo Sr., that has graciously agreed to share a few words on behalf of the men in our room, and our chief, White Lady Speck, graciously agreed to share a few words, and our always loving and supportive elder Butch Dick and his son Bradley to also share some words with us there. Scott and his colleague in the legislature, the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Ida Chong, also both have agreed to share some words on the steps of the legislature for the press. And I think it's good for the women in all of our society to see us. The more visible that we can be, the more healing it is, you know, for them. It's so good when they see that we're doing these things to help ourselves and to create a better future. So that's our plan. And so I'll start with our young witness here, Megan Clarkson, to come up and share a few words.